Today, AI is changing how fast organizations can move, but speed alone doesn't create value.
What matters is how clearly teams can define the problem, align around outcomes, and make the right decisions before they accelerate.
I'm Clay Richardson, founder and CEO of Digital FastForward.
And I'm Steph Louis, Senior Director of Pega Community and Developer Engagement.
Each episode, we sit down with leaders and practitioners to explore what it really takes to design for value.
And find out how organizations are turning AI-driven speed into meaningful, measurable outcomes.
Welcome to Design to Accelerate.
Conversations on creating value in the age of AI.
Let's go. Welcome to another episode of Design to Accelerate. I'm your host, Clay Richardson, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host, Steph Louis.
Yes, again here as head of developer and community engagement with Clay, and joined by an amazing guest who's Cornelius Pone, who is the co-founder of Digital FastForward, which is the simplest title I've ever had to introduce. But what does that mean, and who are you, and what's your journey been?
Thank you. My journey, I've been in the industry for like a little bit over 20 years, 25 years. I'm actually an ex-Pega employee. I did solution architecture for Pega, solutions engineering for Pega. I moved on, and I'm currently an LSA and a co-founder. And I've been involved in multiple implementations that are Pega related. It's been over 20 years since Pega 5.5 or 5.4. Yeah, it's been a journey. I've seen the good, the better, and the better.
Ooh, I like how you switched that.
You know, it's funny. I think Cornelius is, like, we've known each other for 20-some years, right? And we've worked together in different companies. Now, obviously, we're in a company together. But I always think Cornelius is probably one of the most modest and humble people I know. But sometimes that's problematic because he said, I've done a few Pega implementations, a couple.
I said multiple.
Right. It's probably more like hundreds at this point, right? Right? And I think that's why we wanted to have you on, not so much, hey, you've been, you are co-founder of DFF, any of that. But I always find anytime we're talking, you're the biggest contrarian, right? And sometimes it forces me to think differently or more clearly about things. And so a lot of the conversation we wanted to have with you is really as an architect, as an LSA, how are you thinking about this shift to AI, right? And what does it mean from an architect perspective?
Sure, thanks for the question. It's something that you have to embrace. I don't think it's going away. It's here to stay. And as an architect, you have to be able to look at it and look at the different AI models, the AI technology that's out there, and then decide, like, okay, how does this apply to a problem that I'm trying to solve, right? I don't think you start with the AI is what I want to put into the business, but you need to go back and say, what is the constraints or the issues that the business has, and then are there any tools with any capabilities that I can actually put in or help solve that problem? I don't think as an architect if you're not using AI or looking at it and getting expertise in it, you're actually being left behind. Yep.
And I think there's two things that you point out, like two kind of sides of the coin that I want to dig into. One is being part of the conversation to figure out which AI tool is going to solve the problem.
Correct.
Rather than just giving the requirements of go do this.
Yep.
And then the other is the knowledge of the aperture of what's there. Correct. Not just in the Pega ecosystem, but beyond. So I think I'm going to kind of dive into the first part of like, how does the process, the conversation, the journey change of where the architect starts to be involved in the conversation? Because it's not just the bells and whistles and...
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think it really changes a lot in terms of where the involvement is. I think when you go through a solution design phase, there should be an architect. If they are not in the room, they should be aware of what's being discussed, right? I could see a point where the solution designer handles some of the questions that I would have had handled as a solution architect before. Let that designer be able to go through that. Let the designer be able to use Blueprint, and let them be able to, because I think it asks the questions that I would have asked. and it comes, and the blueprint, as an example, comes with the best practices that I would have been trying to enforce, right, during that solution design, which is always a thing that Claire and I had. Like, I'll come into the room and like, no, it's not going to work that way.
Right.
And I'm stopping the ideation, right? So me stepping out of the room.
That's a real challenge.
Yeah. That's a great point.
General.
As an architect, I'm always thinking, oh no, what am I have to go through to build this? Why do I have to go through to build it? These guys are asking for too much.
That's going in the back of.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm trying to stop them now.
Yeah, you can't do that. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think you stop the ideation.
Yes.
That's a really important point because you're trying to help, but you're being hurtful.
I usually say time out. Let's go have a conversation.
Yes.
But that's the architect.
That mindset.
Right. It's trying to protect the reality. Like people like me.
Yeah.
Again, me and Cornelius go way back, and I just remember when I was sharing with Cornelius this great epiphany I had when I was at Forrester about design thinking, and we were playing golf, and Cornelius was like, can you shut up and just hit the ball? And I'm just jumping up and down like, this is amazing, like it's going to be great. And, and I think that's that classic, visionary executor kind of battle where, Cornelius is looking at it like, what's the reality? Is this hype? Like, are you doing things that once it gets to development, and we have to start building an architect, like it's not going to work, right? And I assume sitting in on blueprint sessions, it scares the crap out of you, right? Like you get anxiety, right?
Yeah, because I think like we've talked before, right? It's like, that sounds great, that looks great, but I know those business rules are going to need a little bit more implementation. I know that the security, I know the data structure is not what I would have designed, but what I started to appreciate with the AI, it's actually most of the things that architects used to do are pretty standard, right? Like, this is the data model, and this is the best practices of building a data model. Why do I need to go do it by hand when the tool can do it for me? This is a case structure, right? And if I apply to Pega, this is the situation layer cake structure, right? That whole thing, there's the layer cake. It'll do it for you, so I don't have to be doing it myself. So it actually frees up my time to be able to focus on other things as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of crazy the world we live in.
Yeah.
I know we've been talking about this. I've been playing with V0 a little bit alongside Blueprint. And, yesterday I was just frustrated with my email, right? And I'm just like, I just need to go in. I need to check this one email and just getting lost. And I'm like, why is email so hard? And I literally just was like, what if I type into V0, like, create a new email app that works like the New York Times, and it's slick, it gives me headlines and all of that. And I punched that in thinking I'm going to choke V0, and it came back with something. I was like, holy moly, like this is amazing. Like I now am doing your job, right? Like I built the whole app. I was excited.
It's always exciting.
Does that scare you? Does that scare you?
No, I mean, I think this is the.
I built the whole app without. That doesn't scare you.
No, because there's still a lot of things that need to happen before you go live, right? I think it's great for apps that are not enterprise, like V0, right? But I think once you go enterprise and you have regulatory requirements that you need to meet, you need a little bit more than just, hey, I vibe coded this in the evening at one point.
Right? How do you know? It took me only 5 minutes, man.
But it was an evening. It was after, right? But it's because I think as an architect, I'll step back and say, okay, great, that was a great idea. Now, how do we put this into production, right? What do we need to take care of? We need to look at the security pieces. What else do we need to integrate with? Are you comfortable with your emails going out into, I mean, they're already out there, but are you more comfortable just letting them
No, I'm not.
going out into ChatGPT or any of the other tools, right? And businesses have to then make a decision themselves, like, okay, what risk tolerance do we have for leveraging any technology, right? I think one of the things that Amazon and some of these other companies came up with is the capability to be able to augment the AI without you giving your data away. Yeah. So if you don't get an answer from your own LLMs, you can then augment your LLMs with other LLMs that are out there. Right. But those are things that you have to consider. I think that's why I say the architect role is slightly different now. You have to look at the entire landscape, right? You're not just now looking at, can I just do this in Pega? But now it's like, how does this fit into the broader landscape around the enterprise?
Right. In dealing with the hard things of like security and what I think exactly your point of like what's okay and then where do you need to start to augment. It's not just SecOps anymore.
Yeah.
It's like you're actually expanding kind of like everybody hates the word governance and it can mean so many different
yes.
But there is some type of governance that this new role can help with.
Yes.
To figure out the best use cases and reach and what security models you need to have in place.
Yeah, and I think it's actually that reminds me, because I was thinking like a lot of architects use governance, especially enterprise architects, as a way to put the brakes on a lot of innovation.
Yeah.
Right.
So you were listening to me during the golfing.
Yes. And they put the brakes, like they always say, like, oh no, we need to do this review process. It's going to take 6 months.
Yes.
By the time you finish the 6 months, the world has changed.
Yeah.
Right. That problem is no longer what's needed. So that's what I say, as an architect now, you need to embrace the AI. It's going to allow the people to move faster, to be able to build things faster. And, the classics terminology about you fail faster. Right?
Yeah.
So you fail, we'll try again, but it allows you to try that much faster, that much quicker, instead of having these long cycles. I think this is, for a long time, I've always personally just like, when somebody's talking like a Clay, sometimes in the meeting, like, this is going to take 90 days. I'm always thinking never.
Like it's multiply that by pi.
Yes.
3.1.
Yes. But as chatting with our field, like, this is the first time that I see technology that's actually, for me at least, from my understanding, like, it can actually deliver in the 90-day period. So you should be excited. So if you're an architect out there and you're listening, you should really be excited and looking to embrace it.
And to go into the accelerated timeframe, because we absolutely have to do that.
Yep.
And I think, how do you start to do that and apply AI in the right way? For example, design time versus run time, because you need to accelerate in certain ways, but not in other ways.
Correct. I mean, I still think you can accelerate throughout, right? I think the design time, right, we mentioned, is all the stuff that you do in your solution design phase. Either using Blueprint, you're coming up with a data model, it comes up with almost everything that you need. So as an architect, when you're getting that blueprint to look at, you should have already been participating in those solution designs so that you can say, these are the capabilities I'm going to bring to bear.
Yep.
Right. I am going to use Knowledge Buddy for this. I am going to use Gen AI to generate the summaries at the end of the call. You should be already like, okay. And the great part about it is that now I don't have to spend the time building all of those things out. They're already there. Then you can plug it in and be able to see a lot faster.
It's really interesting. A big business case we're starting to hear bubble up more, and we've seen some of this going back, is this idea of developer productivity business cases, right? So normally when we're putting a business case together with the client, it's usually focused on, how are you going to grow revenue? How are you going to drive efficiency for the business? But now you're seeing more leaders start to look at this. Well, actually, with AI, we think we can save, $10 million a year on development. Build a business case for us around that. And I'm just curious because you've seen some of that, right? We've worked on some different scenarios. Like, how do you think about that you're an architect, but you also lead a team of developers. So how do you think about this developer productivity conversation and the business case that clients are having? Because that's an architect-developer world.
Ooh, that's a tough question.
Yeah.
That's loaded. Let me take a moment, because I think, one, you want everybody to be productive.
Right.
Two, but now, with all the tools that are there, it takes less people or less developers to be able to put something into production a lot faster, right? So it's almost their role that is the initial role as let's say the old architects or the old developers. they'll feel a little bit more pressure because they need to be able to level up and be able to decide to work a little bit better with the business to say what is a value that what we're building is, because it's instead of them saying, I just want to sit behind a desk and be able to just code.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because that coding is going away. That level of coding. Like, I just want to do development work. I want to be able to just build my case structures and do my activities. You almost have to be visible now so that you can actually understand the business, be able to provide value, because your coding doesn't generate value any longer. It's because commoditized.
I mean, and the reason I asked this question is we saw this a while back where there was a client that they had been trying to build this homegrown native application for 3-4 years.
Yep, I remember.
Yeah, and we're not going to give a name, but they'd spent $12 million trying to build this thing.
Yeah.
And the business case centered around, well, if you get a platform like Pega, you can build what they're trying to build in 6 months. Mm-hmm. And actually, the cost is going to be, X hundreds of thousands as opposed to millions. And it actually happened. Mm-hmm. Like, it actually happened.
Yep.
I'm kind of fascinated by, like, that conversation, that same conversation applied now.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's like, how do you, on the other side, the developers that took 3 years to build this thing, how do they justify? That's why I kind of asked the question like that.
I don't know how you justify it, right? Because I think you should never. But, I mean, it depends. I think it's also just the mentality of the developer that you have on the team. Some people like tinkering, and some people just like experimental work. Right. And if you have that type of team or those type of members, maybe you move them to do the R&D, be the guys who are on the leading edge, and there are guys who just like, I want to see something good in production, right? So instead of maybe just, you need to look at the people that you have on the team and then be able to say, okay, these guys can look at, go look at the new AI pieces that we want to be able to bring in, and these are the guys actually are delivering what we need to deliver now. And then these are the three are doing the maintenance work, because you still have to maintain all the old stuff that we have.
It's interesting because what you're saying is, I never thought about this, but what you have to get now is both people that are visible, but also people who have an orientation towards shipping.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are people that, I love the way you said that. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think that resonates so much to the individual level.
Yep.
Because we are going to need both. Some things are not going away. The DevOps pipe. There's only so many things you can automate.
Yep.
I think there's automation from a technical perspective and from a human perspective to talk about like the business. But the other thing is the tinkering, the ideation.
Yes.
Like what we're doing is freeing up both of these types of individuals to lean into their skills.
Yep.
Rather than being fearful of like, well, I can spend all my day doing the thing I'm comfortable with of coding. They're like, no, but this is like, but this is going to be a decision point for people.
Yes.
To be like, which way are you going to go? And it's going to be a decision point for people. It's going to be a decision point for organizations of how you're structuring that.
Yep.
And it's scary because it's still going to be so unknown, but we know there's a lot of runway.
Yes.
With the ideation piece.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, is it scary? I mean, a little bit, I'll say it probably might be scary, but there's going to be different opportunities, right? I think I'm old, so when I...
No, it's seasoned. That's what's going on.
Seasoned, okay. When we used to do development on Unix, right? It was all a black screen.
You were going there.
Right. And then came this IDE, then they came the browsers, and now it's you just have to keep going. You just have to keep moving with it, right? But I think there are people... I always put it this way. We actually are the consumers of that AI and those V0. There are other people who like tinker, who are forward think, who actually built the platform for us to be able to use. Right. So I always look at it this way, like, I'm here, I'm using Pega, I'm building things on top of Pega, but there's actually smarter people than I am who actually have built the platform that I'm using.
Right.
So there's different areas where people can go in. Those people are building those platforms for us. They might not be in front and center of the conversations with customers. Right, they get feedback, and then they go develop the tools that people are looking forward to see what's coming up. So there's different areas that people can go into. Not everybody has to, be front and center. Like, I want to be out, because not everybody has the same personality at that point.
Do you think and this is for both of you really, do you think we need to redefine what an architect, not even what an architect, but redefine architect? right? What would you say the old definition? How would you define the old definition of architect?
Oh my gosh. I don't know if there's one definition I could think of.
But you're an architect. Like, how would you define what is an architect vis-a-vis 2024?
Well, I would say, okay, pre-AI. Pre-AI, it's individuals responsible for systems design and architecture and governance in an enterprise organization, right? That's the true definition. If you go look at those architects, they hardly ever build a lot of things. They might have been developers at some point, so they're using their knowledge to be able to say, this is the layout and the structure that we want to have in an organization. I think if I look now, the responsibility of an architect, I think there's some level of governance that still has to happen. I just don't think it should be the way that it's always been done. But I think an architect now, you almost have to, you have to be aware of all the different capabilities that are out, not just in Pega, but in the market in general, and how do I apply them to be able to solve problems, instead of the traditional approach where it's the business comes with a problem and then you come and say, well, let's go either build it or let's go put it through a roadmap and then take forever. So I think the person has to move a lot faster. That's probably the major difference. Yeah.
What do you think, Steph?
Agree, 1,000%. One of the things, and we were talking about, because obviously we prepare for this podcast, one of the words that was used that I had a hard time thinking it was a true word was advisor. Because I think advisor can be used in ways you think of a consultant, or you think of someone who just comes in like, just drop this and like, but I'm kind of asserting that word to what you were just saying. Is you're an intelligent expert advisor that's in the room. That's not a no. It's a yes and because of this. I'm like accelerating, not your idea, but like the how to do it. So I think it's taking that advisory role in an actual practical way as your role as an architect. So I don't have the right words for it, but because again, I don't like the word advisor because it's used.
I couldn't come up with any other word. Just
but the energy around it, I think, is right. Because I think when we were prepping, I was kind of like, advisor? I don't know. But what you just described is that you have this broad view of the landscape, and you're actually helping evaluate the trade-offs and advising on, hey, here's the, and I think there's something that just light bulb went off.
Yeah, and I also think the benefits, because if you're advising in that room, they're still looking to you to be like, well, I don't know, you're telling me coach, knowledge, but like, I don't know, but like, you're like, you're going to use this because, and then there's hopefully will be other people that go around, it's going to expedite the process because you made that decision up front based on the benefits that you decided on the room.
What's interesting is I think about like one of the things that you guys do, kind of our architects do, that's kind of interesting to me is this always giving options to clients around architecture, trade-offs, and changes. And I think that's something that is different and becomes more important with AI is like, hey, here's 3 or 4 options around how you can approach this. Now this, because that's really the advisor, is
that's
this option we recommend, and here's why. But let's talk through, whoever the stakeholders are, let's talk through these other options so you are now in the room helping make the decision. Whereas old school, it was almost like, well, this is what is available to you. Good luck, right?
Yeah, and you tell us what to do, and you're making a decision. You have no idea what you're making it about.
I mean, that is there's so many angles to that because I think that's where a lot of technical debt actually happens. We've been talking about technical debt, but it's almost like the architect just decides with no trade-offs.
Correct.
Right. I don't know what your thoughts are.
No, I mean they decide this is how we're going to do this. Right. This is our standard. That's. And I think that's one thing that has to kind of go there because this is the standard that we have in our organization. So we're going to implement your security model this way. Right. But there could be different options because now there's different technologies. But if they never present that back to the business, then it kind of limits what the business might be trying to do, right, to try to move fast. But I agree with you that definitely when the word advisor, I don't have another word for it because it's almost like advice, like you mentioned. I leave it with you, but maybe an architect partner advisor. I don't know.
We need to come up with something. All right. Let's put it through ChatGPT.
I love it.
Yes, maybe we'll ask ChatGPT, right?
What do you think, ChatGPT?
It definitely is that you need to be like, these are the options, like Clay said. We always present options to clients. Like, these are the 3 options. These are the 4 options. If you have another option, let's all sit around and discuss the trade-offs. And these are the pitfalls. These are the risks that we see if you go with a particular option. We're not saying you can't, but just be aware that if you take this path, and it's usually not just talking to business stakeholders. They usually have their own architects on the team as well, right? Mm-hmm. And they say, okay, this is the agreement that we come up with. And most of the time, it's not usually just the quickest thing. It's what is looking at into the future. What can we be able to leverage from there? Yeah,
it's interesting because I think, Steph, the conversation, we had a kind of post-conversation yesterday with Don, Don Sherman. And one of the things that was interesting is he was talking about, solution designers have to be great facilitators, which we know that, right? But it's also making me think architects have to be great facilitators. When you're presenting the options, you have to be able to present the options in a way that people understand and can look at the trade-offs and buy into it.
Yeah. And I think this kind of goes into like kind of the next segue, like the skills are changing.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So like what kind of like wrapping that up, like the skills are changing to bring everything to kind of full circle of like bringing this into the forefront, being part of the discussion, being the whatever word we come up for advisor. But like kind of like as you would like think about like recommendations for people that are listening to this that are kind of in your frame of mind as an architect, like what are your recommendations?
Embrace the change. I mean, that'll be the first thing I'll say. You have to embrace the change, and then the next thing is you have to be aware of what capabilities are out there, right? And how can you bring them to bear to solve a business problem? It's no longer thinking the old way. I mean, I love it myself. I'm an architect. I always want to come up with the most beautiful, not just architecture, but I'll spend time looking at the different code to try to make sure it looks according to my standard and it performs to my standard. It's like the UI. I build it for myself.
That's your art. That's your art.
Yes. But
that's funny.
You have to, as architects now, you have to almost be an advocate of the business instead of advocating for IT. Right. Yep. You are their partner now. You sit there on that side of them. So those facilitation skills that we talked about, I think you need to be a great facilitator. And facilitator, you have to take yourself out of the equation and don't influence the decision, right? But most people, I mean, I'll be biased as well. I always have. But you try not to be, and then you step out of that role. So I think that's embrace the change. I think that's pretty much it. And then be aware of what's in the landscape and how you can bring those capabilities to bear.
Yeah.
Man, I have so many follow-up questions, but the good news is I can ask you these questions when I want. And so just really great having you on the podcast,
thank you.
Man. Just Steph.
Yep.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it was great.
Absolutely.
Yep. So thank you for tuning in for another episode of Design to Accelerate and just staying with us all the way to the end. We truly appreciate it. And so we will see you next time on Design to Accelerate. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Design to Accelerate.
This is a space for thoughtful conversations about how people, not just technology, create value.
When we let human judgment lead and AI accelerate, better outcomes always follow.
Follow and subscribe to keep engaging in this meaningful conversation.